Okay, so here we are up to changing the subject of a formula. So far, all the ones we've done have had the subject of the formula on its own, or we could get it on its own pretty easy. With this sort of one, basically, you're going to have a formula that's going to give you some pronumerals, and the one that you want isn't necessarily going to be on its own. So you're just going to have to manipulate the formula a little bit. It is not difficult. We're just going to do it the same way we have been. The first thing I want you to do is think of, what do I want my answer to look like? What is my end game? Always have that there. Think about that, and it'll make your life a lot easier. All right. So in this little box here that you've got in your workbook, it's going to say move the pronumerals and numbers other than the pronumeral you want as a subject to the right-hand side of the equation. It doesn't have to be the right-hand side. To move any term or number, they're saying opposite operation. Once again, I prefer inverse operation, but same deal. Let's have a look at example 10. Changing the subject of the formula. The total cost of a child's birthday party is given by the formula C equals 40n plus 75. These are a pretty common situation where it goes the total cost equals 40 times the number of people plus 75 bucks. $75 could be the hiring of the hall. So anyway, where C is the cost of the total cost and N is the number. So what they want us to do is make N the subject of the equation. So we are not solving this. We are not going to end up with N equals and then a number. We are going to end up with N equals and some letters. C is going to still be there. We haven't been given a value for C, so we cannot solve it. This is one of the things I was talking about earlier. We have two variables, C and N. They haven't given us the value of any of them, so we cannot solve it. All we are doing is rearranging it so that we've got N equals. Pretty cool. All right. The reason that we do this sort of thing is it does actually make our life easier if for some reason we say, well, we only want to spend $1,000. How many people can I invite? Okay, so there you're starting and you've got C and you have to work out what N is. And it can be easier if you've already got it set up so that you've got N equals and then you just plug in your value for C and solve it straight away. Let's go. C equals, so I'm going to write it all down here and I'm just going to do it all in red today, 40n plus 75. So we want n on its own. Our end game is going to be n equals, okay? But it doesn't matter whether we do n equals or equals n. They've said to do it to the right-hand side. I don't care, and in fact, I'm not going to. Because my n is already on the right-hand side, I'm going to keep it there. So I'm going to end up with equals n. So once again, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this 75. We're using the inverse operations and we're still doing it to both sides. So nothing has changed. One of the great things about maths is we can find a process that works and we keep using it. Because if it works in one situation, it should work in all of them. And therefore, we can just keep using it. It makes life a lot easier rather than having to have multiple different rules and exceptions and stuff like that. So we've now got we've got 40n on our right-hand side. We just want n. That is 40 times. So how do we get rid of that? We divide by 40. And we divide by 40 here, and we're going to divide the whole thing by 40, which funnily enough makes you think of a fraction, which is exactly what we're going to end up with. That is C minus 75, all divided by 40 equals n. We have n as our subject. That's what they wanted. We are done. So n equals, and you could write it as n equals, it doesn't matter. C minus 75 divided by 40 equals n. So like I said, if you knew you had $1,000 to spend, you could chuck that in and you'd be able to solve it straight away for how many people you can invite. And we're done.